Hey, Jed here, and I am super thrilled to be outside painting again. Now, I just pulled up to a place that we've got quite a few options here. I mean, I'll kind of show you around. You know, there's a lagoon down here that's pretty cool. There's the water, there's houses, there's these boats and kayaks down here, and I don't know exactly what I'm gonna paint, but what I know is this: it's kind of gray, cloudy. There's not a lot of, you know, just sunlight or dynamic kind of stuff happening with shadows or anything like that. So what I'm going to be looking for is a little bit of color, and I'm going to be looking for design. I'm going to look for these anytime I paint, but when it's a gray, cloudy day, I'm going to be thinking intentionally a little bit more about color, and that's why I see those boats down there. That's why I came here. Now, whether I paint them or not, I don't know, but I knew that I would have that option here. And so that's why I'm here. Okay, so here's the funny thing. After walking down and looking, I realized, oh man, they've like fenced off this whole thing. This is a private community, but about a year ago, you could still just walk to the beach. Now they've fenced everything off, gates, security codes, blah, blah, blah. So let's go look for another place. So here you can see the flowers that I'm gonna paint and how beautiful they are, because rhododendrons here in the kind of drizzly afternoon, not a lot of sunlight or anything like that. So I'm gonna try to create some atmosphere. Here's my setup. I'm gonna put my paint box up there. Okay, so you can see the setup now with the paint box in here. I've got titanium white. This is a little mix of Naples yellow, and it's got a little bit of a neutral gray in it. It's kind of hard to see because of the shadow there. This is cadmium yellow light. This is cadmium red, this is ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and this is phthalo blue. Now I usually close one of these, and I might close one of the blues, but right now I kind of feel like I want to use some of the phthalo blue here. And it's raining. I don't know if you can see or hear it or anything like that, but I had to take some plastic and put it over the camera here because it is kind of come down. So I probably won't need this too much today. That's the good news about that. And yeah, anyways, we're about to get started. Okay, now one thing that I realized is that this scene is gonna require some of this red. So I think I'm actually just gonna close this, and I'm gonna put a little bit of red out here on my palette. I think I'll do it down here, just kind of keep it separate. But that is quinacridone magenta, and that is going to be a lot better to try to replicate these colors that I have in the rhododendrons today. So now we're gonna get started, and man, we gotta move fast. I don't have that long where the actually don't have that long with the amount of storage I have on the camera. That's one of the things. And so I'm just gonna start putting colors in, and we're gonna have some fun today, because this is all about, you know, this kind of day, this kind of experience is all about finding solutions. And it's about having fun and finding solutions and figuring out how to make things work when you might not have everything go the way that you were thinking. You know, we had to leave one place that I thought I was going to paint and went over to my parents', and it starts raining, and then I had to go figure out how to get more storage for my camera, because I forgot some of the most essential stuff that I need, and try to find a place that's out of the rain. And all this stuff, you will find obstacles no matter what you're doing. So this is just an example, but we're going to have fun because all we're doing is overcoming. all we're doing is moving forward. All we're doing is finding solutions, because this painting, we're going to come across lots of obstacles, lots of problems, lots of things. Painting by its nature is finding solutions. It's having a plan, but then a lot of it is just figuring out how to find good solutions to the problems that come up. And like I said, I kind of want to just keep this background. I kind of want to just make a real soft background. That's my idea right now. Like, I don't want that. I don't really want to put in too much back there. Like, I know that I can add a little bit more color, a little bit more, definition back there if I really want, but I kind of just want it to go back. I don't need to show that there's a house back there and, all these different things. Let's keep it kind of simple and maybe a little bit moody, a little bit mysterious, right? And I'm making that color a little bit more, it's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit warmer than kind of even the day really is. The sky is not kind of a warm, this is the Naples yellow, kind of grayish mix. And I wouldn't say that the colors in the sky are actually that warm. They're a little bit more silvery, maybe leaning towards the blues a little bit more. But I kind of need some areas that are going to be warm, and so that's where that thought comes from. Now down here there's actually some really light, colorful leaves. I want to get some of that in there too. It's a little, man, these colors isn't it just beautiful to see, even just the colors. I am a color person. So you can see how helpful it is right now to have this magenta, because the color is so vibrant and beautiful, and it's really helping to create the feel that is happening here. Now I want to kind of group these flowers, and I have looked at it a little bit, but I'm kind of going off of, I didn't do a sketch, I didn't have time to do necessarily some of that stuff, but I'm just trying to think through the pattern a little bit here. And work quickly and have lots of fun in this moment where you have beauty. There's some mystery here in these colors and the surroundings. And now, there is a chance that as I look at this, as I go, that I will decide, okay, like maybe something from the house would make sense, and maybe it would add a little dimension. Like, there's a certain sense in which some architectural kind of things can be really cool, and they can, a lot of times it's just a the variety that it adds. If everything is organic and natural, just a couple little things that are structural or, they're a little bit different, they'll stand out and they'll be kind of interesting. Doesn't mean that you always have to add them, but sometimes, that's the part of problem solving. You look at it, try to figure out, what does this painting need? Now, as I'm going, I've got nice color. I love this, so much, like already. A lot of times we'll get to a place like this in a painting. Tell me if this has happened to you, where you actually are liking your painting quite a bit, and then you freeze up. You get all scared because you realize it all of a sudden. You go, oh my goodness, like I really like this painting. This happens all the time, I think, to artists that are young or not quite confident that they know how to get to the end that they're trying to get to. And so if that's where you're at, my encouragement is, don't get stuck with the good start. Don't get paralyzed by perfectionism. Just keep working and keep observing. Keep going. Now, you can see I've left this area with a lot more green, right? And the reason for that is because we want some variety, right? We don't want to cover everything in. And as I'm looking at the scene, I see that there's actually a fair amount of in fact, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lighten this area up and I'm going to kind of show that that's not the same bush. That's something back in the distance. It's not very far back, but it's a little bit back. And that's going to help, I think, with the pattern of what we've got going on. Because really, you're the boss of your painting. No one is going to come and tell you what to do or not do, unless you're in a class or a workshop or something. So what that means is you've got to take and make those decisions. And that's what I'm doing right now, myself. Just looking at it, I'm observing, I'm trying to be creative, I'm trying to think through, what does this need right now? And at some point we're going to, actually I'm really close. This wasn't what I was going to say, but I just realized that I'm really close to covering this whole canvas here. And what that's going to do is it'll give us a chance to look at this really with a big picture. And so I'm stepping back. And I'm just looking at the whole big picture. And there's a lot in here that I like. And there's a little bit that I think needs to be better. Design-wise, I am gonna bring in some of this dark down here. I want to kind of come back up into that a little bit. And we've got a little bit of a pattern of the lights up here and more darker things, shapes. We're breaking up some of this with some color and light. lighter values. And now what I'm thinking about is, I'm thinking about the actual flower shapes, and I'm thinking about, is there time to grab some lighter magenta? I'm just adding some white in, and maybe seeing if we can bring some of this, the light that's kind of shining down on them, and show a little bit of that. I'm probably not going to get too detailed with any of these. But what can I do to show some of the light? And I also just kind of realized that there are some flowers that are a little bit more hidden. They're a little bit more in the back. So you can't see the whole flower. And may not have done the best job of showing that right there, but we're just observing more and more, trying to be free. And we're trying to be relatively accurate to the feel of the day, but I'm not so worried about all the details. I'm worried about the feel. I'm worried about what I'm seeing and how I'm experiencing this. And I'm thinking about, how do these colors that I'm putting down, how do they kind of portray the feeling of the day? And I love this phthalo blue. This is, of course, the one that leans towards green more. And I just love how it's cool. It's got this real, I shouldn't probably say cool. I kind of made a determination a while ago that I would say it leans towards green, leans towards red, but I wouldn't say it's cool or warm, because it's all relative. It's cooler or warmer than something next to it, but it's such a strong color. And it's just got this incredible ability to change the whole atmosphere of a painting. It's like a person who has a very strong, maybe really good sense of humor. They come into a room or a party or something like that, and the atmosphere changes. Phthalo blue is definitely a strong personality in the art world. And you could make an argument that especially if you aren't careful with it, that it can kind of take over a party and maybe even make it less pleasant for other. But when it's used well, boy, phthalo blue is just beautiful. Love it. Love it so much. So I'm squinting. I'm just squinting. You know, this is where so much of this for me just becomes small. Oh boy, whoops. 2 bad brush strokes in a row. That didn't really accomplish what I was hoping. Let's just go like this. Don't be afraid to mess something up. Be brave. Be brave. Because when you are brave, the world is beautiful. Okay, look at this. Okay. Let's get a little closer look. I really love, there are parts of this that are just so beautiful to me. Oh man, just gorgeous. It's so fun to find beauty in, you know, just relatively ordinary things. Like I said, you know, I'm kind of outside of the house I grew up in. You've probably got beauty right outside your door too. Can we stop? Can we look at it? Can we take a minute? What can we discover right outside our doors? And as these values are kind of closer to each other, what I mean is, you know, I've got fairly light values in there, and then I'm coming in with a, you know, I'm mostly grabbing titanium white. It's like I said, I kind of want to have this really light atmospheric background, but as it's coming and, you know, touching the other areas that were already pretty light, it's such a small amount of contrast that you can soften those edges a little bit, but you don't need to as much as if you're trying to get a soft transition where you have very dark value up against something that's very light. So I don't have anything in here quite yet that is really dark. And so I'm gonna keep this on the smaller amount. I don't want to have, I like how light and colorful, you know, it's probably a mid-tone dominant painting at this point. Although I should think about that. Should think about where we're at. I don't want the lights to start competing. But there are some dark areas back here, kind of underneath these flowers, and so I kind of want to tie this in a little bit more here. Kind of trying to just, what am I trying to do? I'm trying to tie the shapes and the values together. So these, I mean, right now that's way less saturated down here because it kind of got muddied up a little bit, or kind of mixed with some more grayish colors. And so I'm going to come in, I think it's okay, but I want to come in and sharpen up a little bit, just kind of maybe bring a little bit of definition in there. Now, whoops, I already had my dark here. Just kind of, like I said, adding a little bit of definition, tie it in. And let's see, get back that. Okay. So how we doing? I'm going to step back one more time. Take a quick look. Yeah, I'm really liking it. I think I might kind of smooth out a little bit up here. Maybe also, let's see about this. What if we gave ourselves a strong focal point? Not sure if that's where I want it, but it was kind of my darkest area. Don't really like what I did there. mean, it definitely became a focal point because of the contrast, but it's also one of those places where I have to come and say, is that what I want? Maybe over there needs to be defined a little bit more, and that contrast made a little bit stronger. And look at this. I'm actually coming in with a much lighter yellow, but it's more vibrant than the colors that were back there. And I'm actually kind of liking the feel of it, because it's well, I've stopped looking at my scene and I'm really just looking at my painting, which I always do, and I would recommend you to do as well. Is at some point it doesn't matter so much what your reference says or what's going on in that kind of world. What matters the most is what's going on in your painting. And is it working? What needs to be changed? Because when somebody's looking at your painting, they're not going to be looking at the reference photo at the same time. So it really doesn't matter. Or if you're standing outside, like nobody's going to be coming right here on this exact day and looking at this at the same time that they are looking at my painting. So what we need to do is create the most beautiful painting that we can. And that's all I'm trying to do now. And I do understand that some of what I'm doing right now is changing the atmosphere of the day. It's making it feel like it's sunnier than it is. And that wasn't my initial intention. I just screwed up a couple things in my mind that I thought, I don't actually like that very much. So as I was looking for some solutions, I put down, this brighter yellow color, and I just liked it. So you just do, in the end, do something you love. Put down a color you love. If it really doesn't work, pay attention. Change it. But why put down something that you're not interested in? Go with what you love. Okay. Well, let's take a look at this. Just kind of was thinking I might break up that. Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been so fun. And I think that that's time to be done. Thanks for joining me. It's a good time. Okay, so here is the image, the painting, and here again is the rhododendron bush that inspired it all. And you can see obviously it's a little bit different, but this was such a fun time and a beautiful day to be out here.